That was the first time I ever made like any money ever.
Not from gigging?
Yeah, literally.
How did you pay your taxes?
I. Anyways. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special hungover episode of Benny's Big Talk with my old friends, Edgar.
That is me. Thank you for having me.
Edgar, Shredgar, as we call him sometimes.
Yep.
Since he shreds.
I do. I've also gone by Chalupa Cabra, too, at some point in my life.
Also, you're a musician.
That is correct. That is
Right.
how we became friends.
It is. And and we've both played in bands and stuff for years. I stopped doing it a few years ago, but Edgar has still been doing it and living that life. And it's not easy, but you've persevered through the years. You've done a fuck ton of shows.
Touring.
A lot of bands, touring, and you've still been doing it. And that's what I want to ask you about is how, especially because, like, as you know, not every gig is great.
Or paid.
Yeah, and sometimes there's like one guy one old drunk guy dancing in front of you, and then the entire rest of the venue is empty. And then you set up all your shits and you play for like 2 hours for that one dancing old drunk guy, and then you get $3 in tips, and then you have to lug everything back into your fucking van and go home. And sometimes that's like 3 hours away, And I'm just like, how do you do it?
It's all just, I guess you could say, for the fun. As a drummer, personally, every time I gig, it literally feels like I'm moving my entire house or bedroom or whatever,
Literally.
And lugging all of that into a tiny sedan. Yeah, it's not fun.
Yeah.
And putting all that effort into something and getting little return out of it, it can be a little demoralizing.
Mm-hmm.
It's my passion, but it's not often person's passions turn into their careers and make a living off of.
And I think it's better if you keep it as a passion as opposed to doing it for money. What's the have you seen the meme where it's like, a musician is a person who puts $5,000 of gear into a $1,000 car or to drive 100 miles to make like $10 or something.
It's so true though. It's so true.
Yeah, it is, but you do it for the love, and you can make decent money at it if you're good at like marketing and selling yourself and the branding aspect of it and really putting yourself out there. It's all about being able to sell yourself, and if you're not good at that, it's kind of dead in the water.
Oh, of course, it's always been a business, and that's the way it'll always be. But when there's so many other musicians, bands, whatever, they're all competing for the same thing. The way I see it is simply just supply and demand, where there's
way too much supply,
and not enough demand.
And that's why musicians can't why the wages and the pay for musicians just hasn't really risen. It's like I've worked with guys who have done this since like the 70s, since the 80s. They've been doing these bar gigs for all this time. And a lot of them say that what they used to get paid in the 80s was about $100 a guy per night, and then that's kind of still what we're doing 45 years later. And yet inflation has gone up.
It has not been adjusted for inflation.
Not at all. Literally nothing. They're just like, all right, that's a musician. We'll pay him $100, for 4 hours of work, and it's just, it's crazy but it's because musicians, they just need the jobs, and there's always going to be some poor, desperate guy who's going to come in and play that show. And if you say, oh, I'm not going to play for less than, 200 a night or something like that, they'll be like, okay, I got 10 guys I can call and they will come and they'll pay for fucking nothing.
For free.
Yeah, literally. And so there's just no impetus to, I'm going to say unionize or something, but there's no impetus to really collectively bargain for better wages in the music industry in that case.
It's not like we can go and form a union and go on strike and we'll hold up a sign and says we'll play gigs for food.
Yeah, that's where we're gonna be at, dude. It's gonna
How are we
lead to
not there
desperation.
already?
But yeah, you're right. It's just a crazily saturated market.
Overly saturated.
Yeah, and so, but that's why you have to do it for the love. I found that when I was doing it for money and it was the only thing I did, I made decisions that just, and I brought this up in the Money is the Root of All Evil episode with Charlie, that I made decisions that were just that really hurt me, like artistically and personally, but I did them for money because like, I missed out on like an awesome gig with a great crowd playing interesting music because this other gig paid like $300 for the night. I needed that to pay rent, and when you make decisions like that, it just makes the whole thing ugly. And also like I found it hard to do that life and coexist with my band members when money was such a big part of it. Like we would get in arguments all the time about money. I got with these really ugly situations. Like people would, they would lawyer up and shit like that. When it came to talks about, about splitting profits. And then how we were going to pay for, for merchandising, for recording, for all the expenses associated with trying to make music and put it out there, it became always this ugly thing with the money. And I didn't like that.
Especially when you're in like a 5-piece band trying to split all of that evenly. Like I can imagine that's probably a nightmare to calculate all those numbers, and somebody's going to get upset where like maybe they get this much or not enough. Yeah. So I can imagine, that would probably get tiring at some point. But But the fact that you were able to make a living off it, that's something I envy or was very jealous of you, because I'm like, that's what I wanted.
Bro, I was barely making a living off it.
Yeah, you tell me that now, but there was a conversation with me and you where it's like, hey, I'm in a band, I'm getting decently paid gigs, I'm paying rent with this, and I'm like, yeah, rub it in, why don't you?
It's not a very lucrative life, especially if you're not a solo act, because solo acts can make more if you can get up there and be, play an acoustic guitar and sing songs. If you're nice to look at, that helps a lot too.
Don't we know a guy like that?
Maybe we might try to get him on the podcast here sometime soon.
Maybe one day.
Then you can guess. Then if you can do that, and then you keep the majority of the funds yourself, then you can actually make a decent living off it. And I know some guys that do as well. But because a lot of venues, they'll pay a certain amount. They think they allot a certain amount for entertainment, and that's not going to change much whether it's one guy, a duo, or a full band. So they'll pay like, okay, so we got $300 for entertainment tonight, and so if they get one guy playing guitar with a looper or something and singing, then that guy gets the whole 300. Whereas we get a band's, it's it's split up, and then those guys get nothing. So if you're in a band, you have to fucking love it, because it's you're not going to get anything from it. At least doing that bar scene.
Oh yeah, and going back to the marketing thing. Like you said, you have to be able to sell yourself. I feel like from an audience perspective, it's a lot easier for a person who's seeing an artist. It's a lot easier for them to connect with a single person rather than 4 or 5 different individuals marketing themselves as a band.
Oh yeah.
So and that's just the way the industry's gone, because the rise of sing solo and pop stars, country artists. Like I said, they can connect more with a single person rather than 4 or 5 individuals.
Oh yeah, it's a personal connection, and the band, there's like this detachment with the bands, and that also goes with like tips, because like if you put out like a guitar case or a jar for tips or something,
jar like you're busking.
Yeah, right. But like so a lot of times we would put it out just because like why not? We're literally making nothing here.
I've been there.
So it's like but if you're one person, people are kind of like, okay, we should tip him. Yeah, he's one guy. But if you're a band and you put out a tip thing, people don't understand. They don't understand the concept of tipping, so you get nothing, So
and that brings you back to the one solo drunk person in the bar that you're playing with.
Oh
we're I'm pretty sure we played this gig for free, but we could have a tip jar out, and some lady's probably like 5 or 6 drinks deep. She's going, whoa, and then like I specifically remember her saying, "It's like, you guys are going places." I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. You ever get those people where there's this one guy that comes up to you after the show and he's like, "Hey man, I know all the people, man. I can get you. You guys are amazing. I can set you up. I got friends in Capitol Records and shit like that."
We kind of had a guy like that with one of my bands. I think he was just like a stereotypical like rich guy. I don't think he had connections, but he definitely had money. Yeah. I remember he offered us like I guess you could say a deal where if we learned a certain like list of like bar band and like cover songs, and then we would sprinkle in some originals here and there, he would pay us, I forget how much, probably like $100. Yeah. And even if the bar didn't pay us, I guess he had connections to get us to play somewhere, even if the venue wasn't paying us. But if that was the case, he said he would pay us out of his own pocket.
Yeah, well, I mean, did he follow that up with anything?
No, he did not.
Well, yeah, I know, bro. Yeah.
Exactly. So it goes back to it's like I know guys.
It's like, yeah, they've got this. It makes them feel big or good or something if they can like provide something. And then of course, as a musician, normally you're like, oh yes, sir. Oh yeah, that sounds great. Thanks so much. Yeah, let's make that happen. Because you're expecting maybe they'll put $100 in your pocket as a tip. And sometimes you get some drunk people that give you some good tips. But then when they start fucking with you, dude. Like, have you ever had like people who like they give you like a $20 tip and then they think they own you, so they go up and they start like fucking with your guitar and shit, and they want to sing songs and all this stuff, and like they'll stand in front of you and request songs all night, or like actually grab your microphone.
Okay, I can see that happening, but as someone that hasn't played as many cover gigs as you have...
You haven't had that?
No, I can't say that I have.
Oh, that's so annoying.
I would probably freak the fuck out if someone's touching all of my equipment, especially if they're drunk as shit.
Well, that's the thing. You should. But for us, and usually when that happens, like, obviously we have a breaking point, and sometimes you gotta be like, hey, man, just stop. But... it's like if they're giving you money, like sometimes like we'll be something we're playing, some bar late at night, there ain't nobody fucking there. But there's one guy and he's just got his roll of 20s out and he just starts dropping them, but he wants to. It's almost like like you ever think of those situations where like, man, if Jeff Bezos paid me $100,000 to like eat shit, would I do it?
Probably.
Yeah. So it's like
$100,000.
It's like the dance monkey mentality thing, and like you almost wish you would, like I'll fucking eat a pile of shit for 100. I mean, not even 100 grand. Yeah. I would never mind. I definitely would. All right. I'm still that desperate, but for $1 million, like that, like everyone has a price, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
I don't know how much to ask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right, man. You just got to keep finding that number. Like $100, probably not.
No, it goes back to marketing once again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all marketing, dude. And for you as a musician, there, you're like, well, he's dropping those 20s, so like, yeah. I mean, maybe you can touch my guitar. Maybe you can request a few songs. Maybe you can stand in my face with his beer breath and scream at me while I'm doing a guitar solo or something.
Maybe a small price to pay.
But the whole time you're just like, hey, this is cool, bro. You're trying to keep a smile on, but like inside you're just dying,
So this is the kind of shit you experience as a gigging musician?
Like, oh, yeah.
Especially playing cover gigs.
It would depend on which band I was with. But yeah, especially if we were up in Newport Richie or something like that, playing the shit where they want Jimmy Buffett and Leonard Skinner and stuff
like that. Good old Pasco County.
Oh, bro. Yeah, I did that circuit for a while. And so it's rough, but, it's guaranteed pay, a little bit at least, But I hated it after a while.
What was the breaking point for you where you're just like, fuck this, I'm done?
Well, I mean, when I actually stopped the like gigging for a living, I mean, a drummer in a band I was in died, and so that kind of put a damper on things.
I imagine so.
Yeah, and so that group fell apart. But then the other band I was in, I was just having disagreements with the singer. It was my ego in the end that really did it for me. I mean, because like as a musician, I was pretty good, but my ego was like 10 times bigger than how good I was. Even though I was pretty fucking good, but.
I'd argue you're pretty fucking good.
Thank you. You're pretty fucking good too. Man.
Well, thank you. That's one of the first things you said to what was his name? This wasn't our first interaction, but you told somebody, because you knew of me, you're like, hey, bro, your friend Edgar's a great drummer.
Yeah. We've been playing together since high school, I think, man. Yeah, just off and on,
I remember your Gargantuan drum set you set up in the back of the band room.
Oh, my God, dude.
And then when you left it was Mr. Sippy Cup tore it down. I'm like, why?
Mr. Sippy Cup, man.
Mr. Sippy Cup.
Remember. That guy was such a fucking... He was a bit of a tool, man. I don't know. I liked him, and I could kind of play with him a little bit. Like, I remember I told him to calm his tits one time. And
I don't
took that a little personally, and he gave me a referral, but not for telling him to calm his tits. But that was because, like, there was a fire drill, and they made everybody go out into the parking lot, of course, because the fire drill. And I just, like, it was like the last period. I just left, and he saw me drive away in my car, and I just waved at him. And
just Ben in his little crown car. He's like, bye.
Yeah. And so he gave me a referral for that. But I think he'd been wanting to for a while because I've been stealing that shit from the drum set for so long. Like I would crouch behind like the desk in the band room and like put something in my like jacket and kind of like hide it and bring it. And I brought back so many things, man. I had like I had like 2 bass drums, man. We had a
gong.
fucking gong, dude. Hit that thing. Woo.
A Zildjian gong,
Yeah,
nonetheless.
a full-size gong.
Full-size
I had it
Zildjian
like
gong.
suspended above me somehow, right? Then we had the hydraulic second hi-hat. Then I had like I think 10 or 12 toms. And I had that Zildjian, that thing with the little mini Zildjian cymbals, like the bell
The
things.
Zilbell?
Yeah. Wasn't that thing like? Well, no, it's like so the Zill bell is one thing, but there was this set of these little tiny bell-like cymbals, and they were like a piano. So there were 12 of them, right? So you could hit them like bells.
Okay, now it's starting to come back.
It was like a $12,000 Zildjian Zill bell cymbal set, and so I had that thing mounted along with this cowbell mount with like 8 cowbells on it. So many cymbals, dude. Oh, dude.
I just remember you playing the set like this, and like you're using your left or right hand to like hit the gong behind you, and you look like an autistic baby, just like.
Well, yeah, dude. That is my dream. Again, to have just a massive drum set. You ever see? You ever watch those Drumeo videos?
Yes. Yeah.
You ever watch the guy Michael Jackson's drummer from who did Thriller and stuff like that? The guy, his name is Sugarfoot. And
What a name.
That's his real name. That's his mom that gave him.
Okay.
He actually liked one of my drum videos one time on Instagram. It was a proud moment for me. But so
no
Michael
way.
Jackson's drummer. But anyways, when he plays, like he's got these cymbals mounted behind him, right? And so when he does these really dramatic movements, like, and then he'll do like for a big hit, he'll go like pow, and you'll hit him like behind him. He does this like backwards movements, and he looks very serious, like at the camera while he's hitting the cymbals behind him. And
You've
he always
been hit by. You've been struck by.
smooth criminal. Yeah, and he does it like he hits him perfectly every time, even though he's not looking at him. But I don't know, it's a great like party trick, just like your like stick flips and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta have some pizzazz as a drummer.
Oh yeah, add a little salt to the stick.
Is that how you do it?
Yeah.
No shit.
No.
I would have believed you, man. I was like, wait, doesn't the salt just fall off?
Don't believe everything you see online.
I don't know if this is just like a Mexicano thing, like you had some salt, and then some lime, I don't know, a little bit of tequila, just pour it in the drumstick.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Adds a little flavor.
Yeah, just pour it right in your mouth, over the stick,
Right in the mouth.
Shit, man. Yeah, let's not talk about alcohol, man. I'm still recovering, but
That's fair.
that was an interesting night.
What a night. Great party though.
Well, thank you. It was good. Yeah, thanks for coming. Yeah, I think
thanks for hosting.
Yeah, thank you. I love hosting parties. I love having everybody come over. I think that I might actually be able to use some of that footage we did last night. I might kind of splice it in here. Yeah, I was gonna say like
Make some reels out of it.
yeah, some flashbacks, to the party. Yeah,
That'd be cool.
yeah. Hola, buenas noches y bienvenidos a Benny's Big Talk, un nuevo episodio con mi amigo.
Estos audífonos están muy soborosos.
No me digas eso.
Nuestro amigo ahorita nos llenó mucho de sudor.
Yeah, ¿en serio?
Demasiado.
Yo-
Demasiado sudor ahorita.
Por supuesto, man.
Le echo la culpa de su esposa ahí.
Hey, sus cosas son usados, I mean,
Me imagino
ya
que
usados.
sí. Me imagino.
¿Cómo se llama headphones?
Audífonos.
Audífonos. Interesante. Bienvenidos a mi podcast, Edgar.
Oh, gracias. Muchas gracias.
Es mi viejo amigo, bienvenidos.
Aquí estoy en Benny's Big Talk.
Benny's Big Talk, aquí estamos. Ok, ¿de qué quieres hablar, mi amigo?
Primero, más que nada, de la música.
¿De la música?
De la música.
Mi amigo Edgar es baterista en una banda, ¿sí? ¿Correcto?
Por eso tú y yo somos amigos por la música.
Igualmente, somos músicos. Dígame algo, ¿por qué llevas 2 gafas de sol?
¿Por qué qué?
¿Por qué llevas 2 gafas de sol? Ok, unas gafas de sol y
Otros lentes.
Lentes también.
Porque no puedo ver con uno y luego el otro me protege los ojos.
Honestamente, no puedo ver nada ahora, con mis gafas de sol.
Exactamente.
Es imposible.
Pero los Ray-Bans me dejan ver muy, how do I say it? Muy 80s. Porque es la tema de nuestra fiesta
Por supuesto,
ahorita.
y mis Ray-Bans también,
I guarantee you nobody knows what we're saying right now.
Está bien. No me importa. Me importa un carajo.
Exactamente.
Es mejor así que nadie puede entender lo que estamos
Exactamente.
diciendo.
No nos pueden cancelar.
Es mejor, lo creo. Pero
no nos
ahora,
pueden cancelar.
Tengo, exactamente. Pero, puedo poner los subtítulos, con, otras cosas que no estamos diciendo. Something like, hey, I love you so much, sunshine and rainbows or something. Meanwhile, we're saying, puta madre.
Puedes decir una cosa en los subtítulos cuando dice otra cosa totalmente diferente.
Por supuesto, man.
Exactamente.
No tiene que entender lo
Entonces,
que
los únicos que nos pueden entender es la gente que habla español.
Por supuesto.
Pero la gente que habla inglés podemos poner aquí, oye, Ben es un pedazo de mierda. Pero lo podemos poner en los subtítulos que, Ben es mi mejor amigo en el mundo.
Hey, Ben, la verdad es para mi gente, mi gente que habla español, no lo otro, man. No, es para nosotros,
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Exactly. But yeah, so, I mean, as a musician, like, how do you, like, stay on good terms with your bandmates over the years and make sure you don't get into arguments like that? How do you make sure that everyone's always showing up, that everyone is there for the music, that they're consistent? Which obviously, even I know you've told me that sometimes, like you said, your bassist just like disappeared for like 3 months or something.
Yeah. He well, before I get into that, so when you're in a band, it's almost like a working relationship. You're basically coworkers in a way.
Yeah.
If you're friends before, that helps, but sometimes, even if you are friends, sure, you'll have that, I guess, dynamic chemistry, even when it comes to jamming or writing songs. But after that, the band inevitably splits, you kind of like part your own ways a little bit.
Yeah,
and it's inevitable. It's like a family dynamic. You're gonna fight. Arguments are gonna happen. You're gonna have disagreements, especially over money and other shit like that. So it's a balance, and it can be very tough. So.
Yeah, they're like coworkers, but it's weird because like you go out drinking with them, and you might do drugs, and and also the environment is so different. It's an artistic venture, and so everyone's creativity is on the line, their ego is on the line. And so you're like coworkers, but that's the thing. You have to treat it kind of like they're coworkers, but they're also friends, and they're also like artistic partners. And the balance of all those things is so tough. Like you kind of understand why the Beatles fucking broke up after 10 years. Maybe it wasn't just Yoko. Maybe it literally was just like the stress of having to be with the same 3 other people like locked up together for 10 years in a studio, and then having
I'd probably want to kill my bandmates too at that point.
Honestly, yeah, and they totally did. I mean, or like Pink Floyd, yeah, like the guys, like they they had a great relationship for like 10 years, but then like they've literally never seen each other since for like 40 years.
Oh yeah,
they were just done, and I get that, but honestly, I think that Alex is the only I still talk to, from all the people that I used to play with, it's hard to maintain those relationships. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a fucking arrogant egomaniac. Asshole. I think so. I mean, and it was a period of time for me that was just, again, I was playing a lot of music, and when the crowds are screaming for you, and you're playing, and it sounds great, your ego just boosts and balloons.
Of course,
from
the dopamine, serotonin, all rushes to your head.
Oh my god, yeah. And so, and then when you've got other people in the band that have different attitudes about the direction the music should go, and what the style of it should be, and maybe like who should be at the forefront of things. Like I always had this problem where it's like I was doing a lot of crazy stuff, and maybe people were liking what I was doing, but like maybe other people in the band thought that they should be focusing more on them, and it became this battle almost. And that's something that in hindsight I wish that I had dealt with, with more kind of like,
maturely?
Yeah, maturely. Well, yeah, exactly, literally. But it's like I was in my early 20s, I was a musician, and I had no concept of maturity or responsibility. So it's like,
as we all are in our 20s,
yeah, and so really it was all just hormones and ego and stupidity, but put in like a high powered kind of situation. And so yeah, what good is going to come out of that, and so as an older person now, having done I had a lot more responsibility in my life since then, and changed a lot as a person. I mean, I wish I could get back into it in a small way, but man, it takes a lot of time. And when I think about getting back into it, but like in order to start from the ground up again, especially because now I'm in a post-COVID industry, things have changed. A lot of the bridges I had before are burns, and now the way I started up initially by playing those bullshit gigs, for nothing. Cover gigs, but just like playing open mic nights, hookah lounges, shit like that.
That's how you got to do it when you start.
It is, but like now I'm thinking about starting that up again, and it's like I got a job, I've got a wife, I got a dog, and it's like I got to be like, hey, bye, baby. I'm gonna go to downtown St. Pete, to play an open mic nights until 3:00 in the morning, so that maybe I can get a chance to hook up with the bands. So just go ahead and make dinner for yourself, and I'll see you tomorrow when I wake up for 5:00 in the morning for work. It's not feasible.
Not in this lifetime, especially as you said, as you've gotten older and you've had a lot more responsibility. So I respect that a lot.
Well, I mean, I went straight, but I had to, because like all the bands I was in just for various reasons just dropped immediately at the same time. So I was like all at once. Yeah, because I was in 3 groups for a short amount of time, and then yeah, right, and then one of them, my friend died, and then the other one, they kicked me out basically because I disagree with the singer, and then the third one, it basically fizzled out. It was going to be kind of a retro like soul funk cover bands, but it fizzled out early on. And I was kind of banking on that because I was talking with another one of those rich guys who's like, hey, can you help me out, bro? I mean, I got connections, man. I got money. We'll make this happen. And it actually seemed pretty real this time. We had a studio, a lot of great musicians. We were setting things up. I thought it was going to be pretty cool, And in some senses, that was kind of why I lost that other band, because I think they found out I was joining another band. And they thought, oh, well, he's just not committed anymore, So, but anyways, they all fucking died at the same time. And then I had nothing. I had no prospects, and I was going to get a job as like a car porter, at Toyota or something. But
did that happen?
No, actually, I got accepted for it. But the last second, Megan's stepdad offered me a job as a construction worker, and then I got into engineering from there. So yeah, that's where my career came from. It all
worked out.
It did, yeah. That was the first time I ever made like any money ever.
Not from gigging.
Yeah, not really.
How did you pay your taxes?
Anyways.
As you were saying, like as bands, you're going to disagree, and that goes back to like just having just one person solely dedicated. So if you're just one guy, it's like I can rely on myself. I can show up to practice on time. I don't got to rely on 5 or 3 other people to show up.
Coordinating that and shit is hard, man. Just for practice. Like getting everyone to show up for fucking practice. Then you have to pay for the practice room and shit if you don't have a space. And then coordinating everyone to like do their homework and like bring all their gear properly. Keep everything maintained. Then then someone's got to work on the merchandising, the advertising, all that stuff, and it's a lot of work. And then then pushing getting new gigs, doing all that stuff. And so if you can't agree about how that runs, man, it's
inevitably going to fall apart.
It is going to fall apart, But honestly, every band's going to fall apart anyways.
Yeah, and that's how I go into it now, because like I've been in about like 4 or 5 bands now in my 29 years of life, and if I ever join another one, I'm going to go into it thinking inevitably, yeah, we're going to break up. Yeah. It happens.
Well, it's like, just like getting into a relationship, like the best case scenario is that you fall in love with someone, you have a great happy life with them, and then they die. And then it's really fucking sad. And that's the best case scenario, right?
Easily.
So the same thing with a band. It's like the best case scenario is you join some people that are great, you make a lot of great music, and then a lot of people like it, and then you sell out, you make shit music, or
you sign a record contract.
Yeah, right. Or someone dies. It's just some bad shit happens. Either you either die a hero, or you live long enough to become the villain, dude. Yeah, or become like Coldplay, and you're just like this kind of like echo of your former self, this
shadow.
Yeah. And so that's like the best case scenario, honestly. Because like how many bands do you know that actually had this amazing career, that never put out a shit record, that never sold out, that never failed, and then they didn't die before the end of their career, right? Like everything they put out was just bangers.
Banger after banger after banger.
And then they just quit, and that was it. And they were like, they're amazing. You know, like for me, the only people who did that were the people who died before they had a chance to get bad.
I mean, I know recently Sum 41 played their last show earlier this year, and in his book, he basically stated that like we've had a great career. This last record is our best record. That's up to interpretation, however you see it. But basically, he didn't see himself going past this point. So it's like I'm just gonna end it now while we're on top, and then go out and leave our legacy behind.
I mean, that's a great attitude.
Oh, easily.
That's kind of like what Quentin Tarantino's doing in movies. He's like, I did 10 great movies, and I'm just going to stop before I become, this
shadow of my former self.
Literally, yeah. And that's just an ugly thing that you don't want to become.
Yeah, I think they went out strong, and I fully respect a decision to, end it while they're on top.
Yeah.
They had a nice, great, like, resurgence in the last, 10 years, because he was a recovering alcoholic. Had to learn how to walk and play guitar again. Ended up in a coma.
Yeah.
So he had to relearn everything, and
damn.
Yeah. So he also had problems with his bandmates too. His drummer, his guitarist, and they eventually resurged, put out a couple new albums, and then he's like, you know what, we've had our fun. We're calling it a day.
Yeah.
Almost a 30-year career.
So like the fact that they were able to have that comeback and still make great music, that I think that's a great thing, and that's not something everyone's capable of doing.
No, because not just as a musician, but any form of media creator, you're going to feel pressure to put out more and top your last piece of art as well. So I can imagine that can be daunting mentally. And
then coming back after all that time, and because then the pressure is so big because people are like, oh, it's the return,
Yeah, the comeback.
Mm-hmm. So the comeback has to. It's got to be a banger, man, or it's just people. It's going to be pathetic. They're going to be like, "Why did you even bother if it's not going to be good?" Right?
Oh, yeah, and that's happened to plenty of musicians.
Mm-hmm. And you're just kind of like, "Why didn't you just stay retired, dude?" So
hasn't Billy Joel announced that he's never putting out any more albums because he knows he can't top himself?
Yeah, and he stops. Okay, but also he did that because the last album we put out got terrible reviews, but that was like his first album that got bad reviews. But to him, that was just like anathema. That was just like, I can't do this anymore. I think it was River of Dreams. It was in like the mid '90s, and that was his last album we put out. And then he hasn't put anything out since. But he has a great fucking body of music, like 20, 25 years worth of incredible albums, and it's just like, that's great, like you have such an incredible body of work. Why just spoil it by just continuing to put out mediocre shit?
And he's still touring?
Yeah, I mean, man, I limited amounts. I think he doesn't tour, but he does like a few, like he does that show at Madison Square Garden, like the New Year's show,
of course,
which is he's like famous for. Megan got to see that once. I'm really jealous. I've never seen Billy Joel. I've seen Elton John twice, but I've never seen Billy Joel. I fucking love Billy Joel.
I would like to see Billy Joel.
He's badass.
I remember my freshman year marching band show was the music based off Billy Joel.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. Our
nice.
intro song was Piano Man,
Mm-hmm.
a couple other ones, Only the Good Die Young, Just the Way You Are. And there was this weird ballad song we had in the middle. It was called Air, parentheses, Dublinesque. I think it's French or something. Is there a Billy Joel song called Air?
That would have been from, I think so he did this, that might have been from his classical album. He did this classical album in like the late '90s. That was his last, that was like his last thing he made. But that might have been from that. But that's not like one of his recognizable songs. And even as a huge Billy Joel fan, I don't really know that. So I don't know why they would have picked that.
So it was, I guess you could say it was a deep cut for our marching band.
I would say so, yeah. But it's probably because it fit well in the marching atmosphere. But that's definitely not.
Because we started off with We Didn't Start the Fire, get a good opener going, and then like midway through, it's like a nice slow ballady song, and then it picks back up with Just the Way You Are to close it out.
That would have been cool. Yeah. No, I love Billy Joel, man. He was, a lot of people don't know, like when he first started, he was doing this like crazy heavy metal thing.
No fucking way.
It was a duo with a drummer, and he would play organ, and they were so loud that people would listen to them from like next door because they were shaking the walls of the club they were in, and no one wanted to be inside the club because it was so loud. And it was just crazy shit, But then he had an affair with his drummer's wife. And
my god!
And then he tried to kill himself by drinking furniture polish because his drummer found out about it, and so the whole thing split up. Right?
Oh, that's got to be awkward.
He turned his suicide note into a song, and you can hear the song. It's on the album Cold Spring Harbor. The song is called "Tomorrow Is Today." Because it's always like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, tomorrow is today.
Classic human mentality.
Mm-hmm. And free beer tomorrow. But like, Yeah, but it's a great song, and it's really touching, But
Sometimes you can make art out of tragedy.
yeah, man, Elton John did that too. He tried to kill himself too early on. Then he made the song. Well, he didn't write the lyrics for us. He didn't write any lyrics, but he made the song "Someone Saved My Life Tonight" about that. Yeah, I don't know. The artist, man, just there's something wacky about him,
It's a whole different lifestyle.
I mean, well, it's just a whole like a mentality thing. Like people who are artistic, they feel a lot more deeply, and so what you get is some really arrogant, depressed divas, and whether or not it can produce great things,
Oh, yeah.
but there's always these bad character flaws that are associated with kind of artistic greatness,
Oh yeah, and you'll hear stories of people writing music while they're like addicted to heroin and other shit, and like that's usually when their best work kind of shines.
Dude, yeah.
And it sucks because like sure you made great music at the cost of maybe your mental health.
Oh, and
maybe,
for them it was terrible.
Yeah, maybe a couple trips to rehab.
Dude, like David Bowie, my favorite albums by David Bowie, he doesn't even remember writing or recording them at all. He did cocaine nonstop for like 3 years, and
All day, every day.
And at that time, he was cooped up in this penthouse apartment in New York, and he was afraid to go outside because he thought the witches were trying to steal his sperm. And he ate nothing but red peppers and drank milk and did cocaine constantly for like 3 years. And he was so skinny. He was like a Holocaust victim skinny. And the music he created that time is just divine music. Incredible. But he doesn't fucking remember doing it at all.
That's your favorite album?
Yeah. It'd be Station to Station is my favorite album from his, but he doesn't remember doing it at all. And that whole period is incredible, but it coincides with this really ghastly, dark figure that he did called the Thin White Duke, where he was just like literally white as a sheet, wore this suit all the time, and it was this figure of like he called it ice masquerading as fire, because he was this cold, dark kind of demon figure who was still kind of singing these hollow songs about love and affection, but feeling nothing, because he felt nothing because he was so numb from the drugs, and yet he was singing about these beautiful concepts that he just couldn't understand because the drugs had just made him hollow inside. And it's very interesting, but really ghastly, And so you see people that go to the depths for the arts, and they put themselves in these horrible positions, And for me, I love art like that. Like I love shit like Stanley Kubrick in The Shining, where he literally made a woman go insane just to get the perfect shots and make the perfect horror movie. Like for me, that is true art, man. And I love just uncompromising, just visions and just like no regard for human health.
Safety, nothing whatsoever.
Because you can't make art if your priority is safety and comfort and happiness, And it's an ugly thing to say because, like, you want everything to be a comfortable environment. You want everything to be productive and safe and enjoyable. But it's like that's not where the best art is made. Art comes from pain,
I hate to agree, but I agree.
I don't know. Maybe that's not a common take, I think. But
maybe not. You could call it a hot take.
Maybe.
It's
hot takes episode,
I guess. Hot take number 2.
Edgar, it has been fantastic. This has been a great fucking episode.
Oh, it has. That's a great fucking kitty.
This is a great fucking kitty right here, man. It's a nice fucking kitty. This is Georgia, everyone. You've probably met her before.
27 Toad Johnson.
You got something to say for us, Georgia?
Thank you for your words.
Thank you, Georgia. Thanks for joining us in the podcast, Edgar. It's been great having you. I think that's we're gonna do a jam, aren't we?
I think we're due for a jam.
We're gonna do a fucking jam. We're gonna go hardcore in this shit. We're definitely gonna have you on again because we've had a lot of good shit to talk about, and we got more to talk about for
Always.
sure. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. And I'm gonna shake you with my cat hair hands.
Gracias, amigo.
Gracias, amigo. Vamos a tocar.
Vamos a tocar.